To order the August 13th, 2019 City Council meeting. Roll call, please.
Mayor Ryan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Here.
Councilmembers Meyer. Here. Councilmember Cooper.
Here.
Councilmember Percival.
Here.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody from the Interfaith Council here tonight? Oh, good.
Annie Jinda is here.
Okay, thank you. If you'll stand for the invocation, and then our interim city manager will do the flag salute.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful to be here this evening and with a feeling of camaraderie and citizenship to help our community. And we're grateful for this council and for all that they do for our city. We ask you to help them and guide them in their processes to help our families to have the best experiences and livelihood in this community. We're grateful for all that God's given us, and we ask you to please help us this night to, again, have thy spirit with us and say these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Please join me in the flag salute. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, City Attorney, will you report out of closed session?
I'd be happy to do that, Mayor. We had a number of items on closed session. We really only made it through the discussion of pending litigation. There was direction given to counsel, legal counsel, but there's no other reportable action. The other two items, which we're meeting with our labor negotiator, and then a discussion on a personnel item, will have to come back at the end of your regular session tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5, communications from the public. Anyone who wishes to speak during the public comment or a particular item will be required to fill out a speaker's slip, so if you want to speak, make sure you've done that. Each request will cover one speaker. Those who wish to speak must submit their own request to be called on by the city clerk. There is a 3-minute per person time limit for all comments, including public or quasi-judicial hearings. All who wish to speak, including council members and staff, need to be recognized. State law prohibits the City Council from discussing any item not on the agenda, except for brief responses to statements made on questions posed by the public. In addition, we may ask questions for clarification, reference to staff or other resources for factual information, or if necessary, request staff to report back at subsequent meetings. Clerk, do we have anyone wishing to speak?
Yes, Mayor. I have 3. Mary Ann. Okay, so I have this board. Oh, I have to start over here, sorry.
Okay. Hello, good evening. All right, so I have kind of a general map, and this gives you the districts. And where you can see the circles are where the roads just got repaved. Really nice, probably slurried. However, what I see is that there were some roads that were actually probably have gotten passed over a few times. Devonshire is almost down to dirt and gravel. Latham, going towards State, is almost down to dirt and gravel. These two roads are heavily traveled all day. So I don't understand why they got passed over. I know there's a plan. I know that, this probably was decided 5 years ago on who was going to get slurried first. However, I do see, and I have noticed that Four Seasons did get re-slurried. Now, I understand that that is private property. Their HOA probably paid for that, and that's awesome. Also, what was noticed is that Oakland got paved only from Palm to Lyons and then stopped. Had you gone to the other side of Lyon on Oakland, that would have been my neighborhood that can really use some repaving and some slurring. However, I'm sure I wasn't on the list. But what was on the list was Seven Hills. That's that big red circle. And I go in there all the time. I do deliver. There were me personally, was nothing wrong with their roads. I did take pictures of it. They didn't have big potholes like I have. They were, it was pretty much cut, probably could have gone down to the bottom of the list and not the top of the list, because I don't know how much money is being spent on us repaving our roads. However, the perception of neighborhoods being done when there are other neighborhoods that look like they have been passed over for years is really, it's awful. It's really bad. And it's really sad that I drive all over this town in San Jacinto and Hemet 2 days a week, all over, and I see what's happening, and I do notice the roads because I am on them. And even going down Oakland, the fire trucks do travel down there a lot, and the ambulances. So to stop just between Palm and Lyon and give them a nice little slurry, but nothing further than that, down to Kirby. Lyon also going down towards Esplanade. We do have grass growing in the middle of the street. I don't know if that was on the list. However, it does bother me a lot that we have a community, Seven Hills, that doesn't get a lot of traffic, only the traffic of the people that live there, and they got slurry.
It's any consolation, my street didn't get slurried in Seven Hills.
Pat Gregory?
No, sorry. Interim city manager's going to speak.
Yeah, just a couple comments on that. Obviously, there isn't enough funding to go around to do every street. We do have some more projects that are coming out. Those streets may be on the list or not. Be happy to follow up with you and let you know if those are listed there.
And you are correct. Four Seasons was paid for by the HOA.
Okay.
Good evening. Marianne and I have been coming to these council meetings for 2 years. We keep hoping that you will do the right thing, but so far it really hasn't happened. Before the election, Councilwoman Krupa stated on a door hanger that she was a protector of Measure U funding. Before the election, Councilman Brown used the exact same language on a flyer and said he was a protector of Measure U funding. But after the elections, both of them voted to use Measure U funds to balance the budget. They voted for a budget that relies on keeping vacancies open in the police department. So after receiving $17 million in Measure U funding, there is a net addition of 1 police officer. Is that being a protector of Measure U? I think not. We also have been asking for detailed water information for years. Why did the prior city manager, Mayor Hopper, restore the rates for renting the water department facilities without proper notice or resolution? According to the 2015 water study, over $4 million should go towards the new water lines and wells. If that is true, why is there only 1 operational well? Why are we buying so much water from EMWD that just happens to be where our mayor works? You haven't answered our questions, and I believe you continue to mislead us. I've been talking recently to an attorney who's interested in filing a class action lawsuit against the city of Hemet. He said that the council might not ask you your questions, but they will have to answer to a judge about Prop 218 violations, which we've been talking about for years. There's 2 council members who monopolize all the committees and do a poor job. We have a mayor that allows the paving of our own neighborhood before more pressing areas. There are several of you who have been on the council for too long, making bad decisions. We have a monstrosity of a library that's open 4 days a week. The crime in my neighborhood has escalated, not because of the quality of the police, because I respect them, but because of the quantity, despite $17 million in Measure U. And why I think this is probably falling on deaf ears, I'm asking you to please change course. Do what's best for Hemet, not for yourself. I think a lawsuit will only benefit the lawyers, but if that's what's needed to get your attention, so be it. Thank you.
One more clarification. I did not get my street in Seven Hills paved. Okay. Any other?
Gregory Barnett?
Good evening. I brought visual aids for all of you, so hopefully you have one in front of you so you can follow along. Let me start off by saying that we lived in this community for the last 17 years. My children live here, my grandchildren live here, and what the pictures that I brought is the house that's across the street from mine. It's been an issue for some time in our neighborhood. The top picture that you see was taken in September of 2017. And I want to point out the wooden fences on each side of the house. And it's important that you understand that so you'll get the next pictures. We started signing complaints to the police department, to code enforcement, and it took 2 years to get any action on this house. If you'll turn the page, the next several pages, you'll see what happened when you went behind the fences of this house. This went on for years. It took us 2 years to finally get some movement on this place. When they did do something, they hauled away 400 cubic yards of garbage. The picture you see that's dated November 2017, that was after the cleanup. You can see the fences have been removed so that we could see completely around the house. And this house has been red tagged for well over 2 years. So it's uninhabitable by the owner. If you'll flip to the next page, the first one that says today, these are pictures of the residence as it appears today. I took these pictures on Sunday. You'll see the house hasn't changed much. It still continues to get cluttered with garbage that the owner brings home. If you go to the one that says May of 2018, after they cleared everything away from this house in November, this was 6 months later, and you can see he started to provide a little collection in the backyard. If you flip to the next page, you'll see that collection now. The space behind that garage is approximately 30 by 30, and it's 5 feet deep in trash. He started to build a fence again, and we went to code enforcement, and they told us that they gave him a permit to build a new fence. If you look at the following pictures,
Page number when you're talking about the page number.
okay, I'm sorry. So when you, on page 10 was May of 2018. That was 6 months after they cleaned up 400 cubic yards of trash from this house. And then on page 11, you can see this is a garage area, and the space behind it is approximately 30 feet by 30 feet. Okay. Anyway, I believe it's the responsibility of a city. You make laws and rules for people to follow to protect neighborhoods from things like this. And we've already started the fight again, and I don't want to have to go on for another 2 years to get this cleaned up again. I'm looking for some relief from the city to help us. Thank you.
So, sir, if you keep walking back to the end of that last row back there, Sarah, she'd be happy to take your information and follow up on that. Sure.
Is there anyone else? Okay. Next item. Item 5A, presentation from Tamara Martin, County of Riverside Community Action Partnership. It's an informational only item.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members and City of Hemet staff. My name is Tamara Martin. My name is Josephine Fernandez, and we're here from Community Action Partnership of Riverside County, and we are your anti-poverty agency. Now, I know that's very lofty, but we're here today.
Riverside County's Community Action Partnership offers a vast.
We're here today to actually invite you to have a seat at our table to help fight poverty in Riverside County. You would be joining the cities of Riverside, the cities of Paris, the cities of Banning, and the city of Palm Springs on our board that meets the third Thursday of every month. Community Action Partnership is a part of a network of 1,100 agencies across the nation, and we provide services to low-income folks. Our office is at 749 North State Street, right at the Hemet Service Center. There's veteran services there. And even though City of Hemet has about 5% of the total population of the County of Riverside, about 20% of our utility assistance dollars, which is over $1.3 million, comes to that, serves residents out of that center. So you can see why we're very interested in you participating with us. We get about $14 million in federal dollars that can come directly to your residents. And so our video presentation will share a little bit about that, but as you probably know your poverty stats, I mean, we heard a great presentation today, and yay, go skate park. 1 in 5 of your residents doesn't have enough to make ends meet. And primarily what we see in Hemet is we see people on fixed income, we see you're disabled, we see single-parent families. What it means to be below the federal poverty line basically is like if 2 people, one person's making like $16 an hour, or if it's one person, they're making like minimum wage. So that's what it means. So our programs, help people by giving them, job opportunities. We have a lot of youth programs, so we want you to come help us spend some of that money, especially because 1 of 3 of the children here in the city of Hemet also are living below the poverty line. So it's just a 4-minute presentation, and then if you have any questions, we welcome them, and then please appoint somebody to join us in fighting the war on poverty. Thank you.
Riverside County's Community Action Partnership offers a vast array of state and federally funded programs that allow us to aid in the fight for economic independence for many residents of Riverside County. We help people help themselves and each other. Community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes America a better place to live. Here are some of Community Action Partnership's programs. Community Action provides dispute resolution through court and community mediation, conflict resolution workshops, and basic mediation training. In 2015, over 2,100 cases were mediated and over 500 residents were provided with workshops. Peer mediation training for students helps them become models of peacemaking in every facet of their lives. In 1 year, more than 630 students trained in peer mediation. Community Action administers the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program to provide utility payment assistance to low-income customers once a year. Utility payment assistance is available for electric, gas, propane, or wood. The City of Riverside Share Program is offered to low-income Riverside Public Utility customers once every 12 months and assists with utility bills. In a 1-year period, the program locally assisted over 5,000 households. The Weatherization Program provides to low-income residents free home assessments by an energy inspector. The program then assists with certain improvements, such as caulking, water heater blankets, and air conditioning and water heater repair. Every year, over 14,000 customers are assisted under our energy programs. The Individual Development Program encourages low-income residents to manage finances by providing a 4-to-1 match savings towards one of 3 goals: education, home purchase, or small business. In a 1-year period, over 178 families participated and 24 homes were purchased. We also offer free financial literacy workshops to help clients learn to improve their credit score and protect themselves from identity theft. The Veterans Education and Employment Program places unemployed veterans with an employer for paid training and experience and the possibility of regular employment. The program empowers veterans to transition from military to civilian life with the goal of permanent employment. Community Action employs several veterans through this program. The Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program is a free tax preparation program that helps low to moderate income filers. During tax season, free sites across Riverside County are staffed by over 230 IRS certified volunteers. In 2016, this program brought over $12 million back into Riverside County. Project LEAD is a program that recruits, trains, and deploys mentors and tutors to assist students enrolled in after-school programs at middle schools. The program provides character development activities such as recreation, crafts, art, and academic coursework. In a 1-year period, over 4,000 students were mentored. The pre-apprenticeship program is a workplace mentoring program that matches high school juniors and seniors with small businesses throughout Riverside County. The youth are provided an opportunity to learn marketable job skills while still attending high school. Youth receive a paid stipend and participate in a savings incentive plan that matches dollar for dollar up to $100 saved by the youth. The program resulted in 53 youth job placements in 2015. Riverside County Mentor Collaborative is a countywide partnership of over 50 mentoring programs that assist, support, and encourage safe, positive mentor-protege connections. It delivers mentor training workshops, promotes literacy, and provides technical assistance. The collaborative provided over 33,000 hours of mentoring in 1 year. Community Action Partnership, striving to end poverty in Riverside County.
So which one of you would like to help us fight poverty? It's a war worth fighting. Are there any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? Is there any? Go ahead. Mike, did you have any questions?
Are you a nonprofit?
Actually, Community Action we're a public community action. Many of the community actions across the nation are nonprofits, but quite a few of them are with public agencies. So we were designated in 1979 by the Board of Supervisors to receive the federal funds to administer this program. And it's quite prevalent in Hemet.
And when you say collaborative, then you work with other nonprofits and people that do the volunteer work?
That's true. Most of the funding is from us typically, and then other agencies might work with us to provide space. So because we're in Hemet, Josephine might go to other locations where other nonprofits have other programs, and then we administer our program out of that. Because, as you know, when people don't have enough funds, they may not have money for transportation, the resources are limited, so we bring our programs to where the people are.
Carly, would you have time to sit on that council? Huh? We actually have two interested.
Oh, wonderful. So we could send to the city clerk the information about the next meeting, and then we welcome you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike and Carly.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to item number 6, receive and file item for our warrant register. Can I have a motion to receive and file for the warrant register?
So moved.
Please vote. Oh my gosh. And that's approved 5-0. Next item, the consent calendar. All consent calendar items will be acted upon by a single action by the council unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or separate consideration. For separate consideration, excuse me. Are there any members of the council that would like to pull any consent item? Hearing none, are there any persons from the public or staff who would like to pull consent items? Okay. Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the items? Oh, sure.
The 7E, that's authorizing the resolution to go for the grant funding for the skate park.
Yes, it is.
That's correct.
Just want a clarification on that.
Thank you, Bert. That's exactly what it is. Okay. So we have a motion to approve the entire consent.
I move to approve the consent calendar. I'll second that.
Please vote. And that's approved 5-0. Thank you, Council. There's no public hearing scheduled, so we go on to discussion, item number 9, discussion action items, the WCE presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. We have representatives from WRCOG, Barbara and Tyler, that will be giving this presentation for the City Council and the public.
Hemet residents will soon have a choice on how to power up their home or business.
That's why I'm in Public Works.
No problem. Good evening, Mayor, Council members. I'm Barbara Sweetar, Deputy Executive Director at Western Riverside Council of Governments, and we are the administrators for Western Community Energy, which is a separate JPA that I'm going to talk about and provide an update. First, I would like to thank Mayor Wright. She serves as our chair of the executive committee at WRCOG, and she also serves on the board of directors of WCE, as does Mayor Pro Tem Brown, and really appreciate their participation and input into this process. Before I get into the presentation, we have a real short video, explainer video to show you.
Hemet residents will soon have a choice on how to power up their home or business. A new program, Western Community Energy, gives us a choice in how we get our electricity. Using existing transmission lines, this program gives Hemet local control over rates and the kind of energy we receive. A recent survey found that 64% of county voters support participation in Western Community Energy. There's no risk to residents who can opt in or out of the program at any time. We all want lower rates and a choice for cleaner energy. Western Community Energy gives Hemet and other cities in Riverside County control over where and how we get our electricity.
That's a really good question. If not, I can be your clicker. I'll be your clicker. I'll be your clicker. Can we kill that?
We'll kill that, and we'll do a clicking through. I apologize. So, again, thank you, council members. Is it working? Thank you. Okay. Western Community Energy is a community choice aggregation program, and we get a lot of questions about what community choice aggregation is, or a CCA. As I throw around the acronyms, I'll try to keep those minimal. At our board meetings, we actually have pages that we stick in the folders to sort of help everybody follow along. But in AB 117 allows for local governments, either on their own or to come together under a joint powers agreement, to aggregate their energy purchases for their community. It's a really good hybrid between a municipal utility, which purchases its energy and also owns its transmission lines, whereas an investor-owned utility, in our case Edison, purchases the energy and they own their own transmission lines. So CCA is a hybrid. It allows for the jurisdictions to purchase the generation or the energy, and while utilizing the IOU, in our case Edison's transmission lines. Customers currently pay, if you look at your bill, they pay a generation charge, and then they also pay a transmission charge. The transmission charge is that it is to get the energy onto the grid. It also covers billing, meter reading, all of the things that have a lot of liability associated with them when they break. Currently, there's over 59 local governments that either provide some type of utility service in California. CCAs are not new to the state. They mainly started up north in the Marin County area. They've traveled down our way over the years. Right now, there's 19 operating CCAs. In our region, we actually have one, which is your neighboring city. The city of San Jacinto is its own CCA. In 2020, there's 10 more that are scheduled to come online, and in fact, over 70% of Edison's territory is actually looking at developing some sort of CCA. So what would WCE do? WCE provides a choice to consumers. It's a voluntary program. Customers do have the ability to opt out and stay with Edison if they so desire. WCE creates a local control aspect over programs, setting its rates, what type of power it's purchasing, how green it wants to be, again, the programs it wants to offer. It does create economic development opportunities. You're able to attract businesses that are high energy users that are looking for cheaper energy rates.
It does provide, in most cases, lower electricity rates with a greener mix. And again, we have a strong track record of CCAs working throughout the state. Just to show you the growth, when we started our process, we did a feasibility study back in 2016. There were 4 CCAs that represented 30 jurisdictions in Northern California. 2019, that actually grew to 19 operating CCAs representing over 152 jurisdictions. And when we get approved, when you look at who's approved for a 2020 launch, you're adding another 10 CCAs representing 169 jurisdictions throughout the state. These CCAs are meeting their objectives, whether those objectives are providing lower rates to their consumers or meeting greenhouse gas reductions. Each city and county throughout the state has different objectives, and each one of the CCAs is meeting those. WCE's board has put together program goals. We plan to offer a 35 renewable rate as the default, so that would be what everyone would have. That's slightly a higher mix than what Edison currently offers. We look to provide that at a discounted rate from what Edison provides. We also, for those individuals who are more green conscious or interested in reducing their carbon footprint, or however, we will offer the ability for them to opt up to 100% renewable. Again, that's a voluntary process. It is probably going to be a little more expensive than what the Edison rate is, but there are people who have that environmentally conscious sense that they want to take. Our board has developed a goal for its reserves, and we anticipate launching in summer of 2020. When we look at the annual community savings, we're looking at a discount of 2%, and that's 2% off of the Edison bill total. When you look at the city of Hemet, you have a really good mix of your residential and your commercial. Your residential savings is nearly $1 million. The commercial's a little over $500,000. When you look at add your municipal in, the community's looking at saving almost $1.5 million annually just for doing nothing. We're not asking residents, businesses to change out light bulbs, change any habits. This is just strictly a savings off of their bill for participating. Recent actions, July 24th last year, the city joined 6 other cities, city of Eastvale, Norco, Paris, Aruba Valley, and Wildomar, to create WCE. Our board members, along with the city managers, have been meeting for the first part of for August of 2018 through near beginning of 2019. They were meeting every other week. A lot of dedication, a lot of discussion. We're on a monthly basis now. We update our performance on a every other month basis. Our consultants are aggressively looking at where the markets are. We want to make sure that we come out the gate with what we're telling our board, which is we really want to launch with the 35% with the discount. And so I have to hand it to my board members and my city managers for all the efforts that they've put in to get us to this point. The latest that we've been working on, we have our marketing and outreach that's been underway for the past couple months. We started a social media campaign back in March. We've had staff out at your harvest fair. They'll be at the Christmas parade. We have PSAs that'll be starting in the Regal Theater to get your residents and businesses aware. In March and April, we actually did a ratepayer survey of the voters in our member jurisdictions, including the city of Hemet. Out of that, you had very high numbers that came out, where 63% said that they supported the city participating in WCE. 68.2 of those agreed that they would like to see any savings on their electric bill. 72.7% actually like having the option with Edison, so having competition. 59.1% said that they preferred to have the energy rates set by your local elected official. It was interesting to us because when we wanted to look at what were the main driving factors of people wanting to participate, we automatically thought that cost savings would be way up, being the number one, and then everything else following. It was actually more options and competition was number one, then followed by cost savings. So we were quite shocked with that. So what's next for us? Over the next couple months, we will be entering into an agreement with Southern California Edison for the purchasing of resource adequacy. Resource adequacy is the energy purchase that is needed to meet the peak demand during the hottest point in August for the state. So everyone needs to make sure that they have enough energy purchase so that if something spikes in the highest point in August, we have no brownouts and no blackouts. So that's what that is. Our board will be looking to develop the rates October through December. Again, we're looking at a summer 2020 launch. As part of that, we need to notify each and every customer 2 months prior and 2 months after launch. So we're looking about May, where we would notify all customers of when the launch is, give them the information they need if they would like to opt out and stay with Edison. We plan, if they would like to opt out, to have that easily accessible through the website, phone call, just to make it easy for everyone. Now, we've received some frequently asked questions throughout this whole entire process, so I just want to reiterate what we've heard and to answer again how it will work, and must everyone participate? No, not everyone has to participate. Again, customers have the ability to opt out and stay with Edison. If they do go back to Edison, Edison will require them to stay with them for at least a year, and then they would be able to come back to WCE if they decided to after that point. Again, customers will be notified 2 times prior and 2 times after, but they would still be able to opt out any time after that point as well. If I have solar, can I participate? The answer is yes. Actually, solar customers, most CCAs develop a rate structure that pays out the market value for excess energy that a solar customer may have. The utilities pay out at the wholesale rate. So you normally see the CCAs, and I would naturally assume our board would adopt a market rate process for these customers. So at the end of each solar customer, at the end of their true-up year, Edison determines if they have an over or an underage of usage. If they have a underage and they have excess generation, customer sells that back to Edison, and Edison sends them a check. And again, they do it for the wholesale rate, and our intentions would be to recommend to our board that it would be a market rate. As a customer of WCE, can I still participate in Edison's energy programs? And that answer is yes. The energy programs that Edison runs comes from the public goods charge, which is a separate line item on the bill. All customers pay that. All customers will continue to pay that. So those programs do continue because all customers are paying that, whether they're a CCA customer or an Edison alone customer. So customers who are on CARE will automatically transfer across as CARE customers or FARA. You still have your summer discount plans that you can participate in. So WCE does not affect that. In the future, our board will look at developing additional programs to enhance Edison's programs for its residents. But out the gate, our main focus has been to get the discount rate out from the get-go. What would my bill look like? Again, since the bill service is part of the transmission piece that all customers pay, whether you're CCA or Edison, your bill looks the same. What changes is there's an extra line item that's added where it'll actually show you what WCE's generation charges is, and then it'll show you what Edison's distribution charges are.
There's my contact information as well as Tyler's and Rick Bishop, my boss, the executive director at WRCOG. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So, City Clerk, were there any members of the public that wanted to speak on this item?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions?
Answered my questions.
Okay, any questions or comments that you want to make on this particular program?
I do have something here. The recommended action, we have two items, obviously. One is the receive and file, the presentation that we heard from Barbara, and then the other item is to provide the direction to the staff to continue working forward under the WCE Joint Powers Authority. So with that being said, as you know, the city has been working towards this partnership, and so we would like the council to weigh in, and if they would like to provide that direction to the staff as well.
Any comments? Keep doing what you're doing? Okay. Russ?
Yeah, I think we should continue on the path that we started. And I did have one quick question for Barbara. Thank you for the presentation. I know it is a world full of acronyms, and many of which I still haven't learned, but there's a lot of information that still needs to get out to the community, and this is a start, and many of the other outreach programs are going to help educate the community on exactly what a CCA is and how is it going to benefit them. Do you see any likelihood of additional Western Riverside communities starting to participate, or are they still waiting to see what happens before they make a decision?
Very good question, Mayor Pro Tem Brown. I would like to say the CPUC has new guidelines in place where they require a year in advance workings of things. So for us to get to the 2020 launch, all of our cities needed to take action by December of 2018. In order for anyone to be in a 2021 launch, they'll need to take action before December of 2019. I think those cities would like to see us launch. We have had strong interest in the Southwest group, as well as some more up in the eastern area of Riverside and some San Bernardino County cities. But I think they would like to see us launch, and for us to launch is not until 2021, or 2020, so I would not anticipate them actually they would be able to join but not launch probably until 2022. Just because of the process that the California Public Utilities Commission has laid out. But we have interest. I think everybody is looking to see.
So they're going to be watching.
They are watching.
And waiting and evaluating, and they'll make their decisions later.
Yes, we as staff feel really good with where we are, and have been open and transparent with the board on moving forward, and our numbers keep coming back solid, and us and our consultants have the directive. That's how we're marching and going to come out the gate.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
What cities will be in the 2020 launch?
The 2020 launches will be the cities of Eastvale, Hemet, Norco, Paris, Rupa Valley, and Lodomar.
Any other questions for Barbara? With that, do I have a motion from council to continue the city's membership under the WCE Joint Powers Authority?
So move.
Do I have a
Second.
Please vote. No, that's 4-0, or 4-1, excuse me.
Thank you.
Next, item 9B, selection of voting delegate for the 2019 League of California Cities Annual Conference.
Mayor Wright and members of the council, before you tonight is the selection of the voting delegate for the 2019 League of California Cities Annual Conference. In order to conduct the business of the annual conference, it is important that the council designate one voting delegate and one alternate voting delegate who will be registered at the conference and present for the annual business meeting. A voting card will be given to the city official that is designated by the council. Mayor Wright, Councilmember Krupa, Mayor Pro Tem Brown, and Councilmember Percival are all scheduled at this year's annual conference. It will be held October 16th through the 18th in Long Beach, with the annual meeting being at 12:30 on Friday, October 18th. With that, the clerk will send all the certified information and approvals from the council to the league. And staff is recommending it by motion that you nominate and select one delegate and one voting delegate. If there's any questions, I would try to answer for you if you have any.
First, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? There, the son. Thank you. Do members of the council have any comments or questions, or any of the council that wish to be considered for a delegate?
My question would be Russ and Michael, are you both planning to be there for the meeting, the membership meeting on Friday, and not escape early? And I would recommend that you guys be the delegate. I didn't say that. I've been the delegate before. I've been the alternate before. I think it's time for some new people to sit down in front and have lunch with the rest of the hot shots. So you two decide what you'd like, but I think you two should be the delegate and the alternate.
I'll second that.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, that's my motion, but you two have to decide.
Yeah. So we have a motion and we have a second, but each of you have to decide who wants to be the delegate and who wants to be the alternate.
I don't have a point.
Credit card? Yeah, Adrian, maybe.
Okay, great. We have Councilmember Percival and Mayor as the delegate and Mayor Pro Tem Brown as the alternate. Thank you, gentlemen.
Second.
Please vote. And that's approved 5-0. Thank you very much. Item 9C, consideration to adopt resolution regarding speed limits on 43 street segments throughout the city of Hemet.
So I think Robert's getting a presentation ready. Before we get started on this one, just wanted to let everyone know it's been a few months since the council heard this item. We had some follow-up conversation related to some options on this specific topic, and so we believe we have a solution before the council in terms of the concerns that they had, and so hand it over to Robert to provide that information for the council and the community.
Perfect. Madam Mayor, council members, good evening. This is the speed limit, the item before you for 43 street segments. Just going to get into a brief background. So California has two types of speed limits, an absolute and a prima facie. The absolute is held for the faster roads, the freeways and the highways, and they're established as an absolute top end of 70 miles per hour, 65 and 55 miles per hour. The second type is a prima facie, and that's really what this item is referring to, and it's the presumed, and they are further defined in the California Vehicle Code 22352. And there's really three items there. One is a 15 mile per hour prima facie speed limit that occurs in alleys, highway intersections without the 100 feet of visibility, and railroad crossings. The second is a 25 mile per hour speed limit established in business and residential districts and school zones. Now, if the city wants to pursue kind of a in-between speed limit from a 55 mile an hour and a 25 mile an hour, you have to use a posted speed limit. And that's based on a engineered and traffic, engineering and traffic study. And again, all per the California Vehicle Code 22352. If you do choose to post a speed limit other than 25 or 15 mile an hour, that's 25 mile an hour, or a 55 mile an hour, you're going to be governed not only by the California Vehicle Code, but also the California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the CA-MUTCD. Now, in their description of the code and in the regulations, they start with this paragraph. I'd like to read it just to set the tone for how they establish it, not necessarily the engineering department, but how the state views setting speed limits. The setting of speed limits can be controversial and requires a rational and defensible determination to maintain public confidence. Speed limits are normally set near the 85th percentile speed. That statistically represents one standard deviation above the average speed and establishes the upper limit of what is considered reasonable and prudent. As with most laws, speed limits need to depend on voluntary compliance of the greater majority of the motorists. Speed limits cannot be set arbitrarily low, as this would create violators of the majority of drivers and would not command the respect of the public. Again, that's just a preface out of the MUTCD regarding establishing speed limits. So then it goes on to set the requirements. And it says when a speed limit, and again this is from the California MUTCD, when a speed limit is to be posted, it shall be established at the nearest 5 mile an hour increment based on the 85th percentile speed of free-flowing traffic except as shown below. And here's one of the major exceptions that from an engineering standpoint we can take. The posted speed limit may be reduced by 5 miles per hour from the nearest 5 miles per hour increment of the 85th percentile speed in compliance with the California Vehicle Code, Section 627, which is really the main focus here, and Section 22358.5. So the two questions that I have here are, what is the 85th percentile, and what are the reductions permitted in the California Vehicle Code, Section 627? So the 85th percentile is the 85th percentile speed is defined as the speed at or below which 85% of all vehicles are observed to travel under free-flowing condition past a monitoring point. So for the 66 segments that was presented, each one of those individual segments had a monitoring point. So how is the 85th percentile speed determined? Data is gathered from a sample size of vehicles at a fixed location for each segment. As an example, and the one used in our Council Limited Speed surveys, 100 free-flowing vehicles' speeds are collected over a 2-hour period using a handheld radar. Those speeds are then plotted and analyzed to create reporting statistics, evaluation metrics, and graphical representations such as the following figure. Now you notice the blue line is the 85th percentile. Everything below that represents 85% of the vehicles traveling past the single point. The two yellow lines indicate a 5-mile-an-hour swing in both the beyond the 85th percentile and below. And in that gap, it captures about 75% of all vehicles traveled on that road at that time and at that location. So going back to the second question, what are the reductions permitted in the California Vehicle Code, Section 627? And this is a quote out of there, a paraphrase quote. All engineering and traffic survey shall include, among other requirements deemed necessary by the department, consideration of all the following. A, prevailing speed, which is the 85th percentile, as determined by the traffic engineering measurements. B, accident records. C, highway traffic and roadside conditions that are not readily apparent to the driver. And D, residential density. And again, these are the four items that the engineer, where the engineer can deviate from the 85th percentile. So our form, our evaluation survey is based on those 4 points. A, the prevailing speed, B, the accident history, and C, the conditions not readily apparent, but in C it also contains the residential component for that. There are a few other exceptions and requirements. One is of critical note is that the 25-mile-an-hour prima facie speed limit applies to school whether or not there's a higher speed limit posted. And generally you'll see that with while children are present, 25 miles an hour while children are present. And that's based on the California Vehicle Code, Section 22352. The other requirement, and which is really prompting engineering to be here, is that the prima facie speed must be justified by an engineering and traffic survey conducted within 5 years prior to the date of alleged violation. This just means that we're on a 5-year cycle. With our police department, it's a 7-year cycle because they're trained in a certain way that allows them to extend it out to additional years. All right. With that said, we'll get into this project. The engineering department has identified 66 street segments that require an updated engineering and traffic survey. And pursuant to the previously discussed codes and regulations, an engineering and traffic survey was conducted for the 66 street segments. And a brief summary is there's 43 of them that did not warrant a change in the speed limit that's currently posted. And there's 23 of them that did. So at this time, the engineering department is only requesting action on the 43 street segments that did not change in miles per hour. Fiscal impact, there's no impact to the general fund. Just as in general, the work for this item is performed by city staff. This would be the replacing of a speed limit with a new sign. And that comes out of the gas tax fund. However, again, this item before you does not have any changing in the speed limit. Staff is recommending that the council considers to adopt a resolution regarding speed limits on 43 segments throughout the city of Hemet. That resolution is before you as part of the staff report. I forgot to keep up with my slides. I apologize for that. And then lastly,